What's up, guys? What's going on? I'm Paul. This is Pauline Theology. We're continuing our study in James, and we made it to chapter 4, guys. We're on chapter 4, getting close to the end of James here. And we have learned quite a bit. We've learned about living our lives outwardly to demonstrate our faith. I think that's the big thing. There's an author, I believe, and he says that is probably one of the most important things that is about James, is the fact that our outward lives demonstrate the inwardness of our hearts. We've covered a lot here recently about that, about demonstrating our faith by our actions, and then also that the true wisdom demonstrates our actions, but it is motivated by a purity of heart. And so we're seeing the actions being done. Again, in chapter 1, it talks about the true religion is keeping one unstained from the world, being pure, but also taking care of the orphans and widows. And that purity of being unstained is also demonstrated in the way that we love people. So it is both for living our lives in true wisdom. And so we're continuing on that study here on chapter 4, and James is about to drop some knowledge. He's about to drop some knowledge. So let's go ahead and dive into it. If you haven't read it yet, we're on James chapter 4, verse 1 through 3. So stop the tape, check it out, and then come back. We'll answer the questions. If you have, let's go ahead and dive in. James chapter 4, verses 1 through 3. What is James saying here in this passage? Well, he's saying that the reason that we fight each other, the reason that we have all of this animosity towards each other, is because we want something that we can't have. Something is waging war within us, and it is our desires. We want it and we can't have it. And then he says, but you can't have it because you don't ask. And so the truth is we need to ask. And that goes back all the way to chapter 1, whenever James says, if anybody lacks wisdom, man, let him ask of God and he'll give it to him. The one who gives generously, the one who gives all good gifts. He says, let him ask. And then after he says, well, the reason maybe that if you do ask and you don't have is because you ask with wrong motives. It says you ask wrongly or you ask evilly. Because the reason you ask is for your own selfish desire. It's because you ask because it was only because you desired it for selfish reasons. That is why you don't get what you ask for. So what is this saying about God? Well, first, I think it goes back to chapter 1, where it talks about God being the good gift giver, that all good gifts comes from the Father above. Well, I think that means, and we have to understand, well, we'll go to application later. I'm sorry, that's application. But what we do know about God is that he is a good gift giver. Everything that is good that comes down from him. Okay? Next, we have to think about what this says about man. And in man, it says that our selfish desires are the root of the problems that seems like are in this world most of the time. The reason that we have animosity, anger against each other is because we're greedy. We desire our own benefit. We desire our own glory. We desire to make ourselves kings and queens. We desire to put ourselves above everything rather than have the one who truly is above all things to be above all things. I think this is the problem. And James explicitly says that is the problem. Our selfish desires. So how can we apply these things to our lives? Well, let's go back to that good gift giver. And let's go back to that question about why we're not getting the things that we are asking for if we are asking for them. And it says it's because we're asking for our own desires, our own selfish desires. But I also think that James, in the application of the things that he's saying, continuing through the book about God being the good gifter, about wisdom and how that wisdom comes from above, I think we have to realize that when we don't get something, it's because it's not good for us. It's not good for us. That's why God doesn't give it to us. When we ask of him, we're like, Lord, let us have this, or let us have that. Let's have A, let us have B. And the reason we don't get those things is because God knows it's not good for us. He is wise in his understanding, and he is good in his and his gifting to us with that wisdom. And so when we don't get something, we have to understand that in his in his wisdom, in his wiseness, that whatever he withholds from us is so that we can be a better person. And with the theology of the entire scriptures, I think it is wise for us to recognize that whatever we get or whatever we don't get that we think we need, it's because not getting it is going to further our life to look more like Christ. It's going to make us look more like Jesus. I think that's a big application that we've got to do here. And it's to believe me, there are some things that you think and I think, actually I know, or I guess I don't know, but would be a great benefit in my life, or would be a desire that I don't think is wrong or evil. Yet I don't receive it. And it is because I have to trust in the fact that this thing that I don't receive is because God is saying that I'm going to make you look more like Christ this way. It is better. I don't want to give you good. I want to give you the best because I'm the best gift giver, you know? And I think that's what you have to be reminded of when things like this happen. Anyway, thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.